He chose Coachella over us. I was lying in a sterile hospital bed, weak from anesthesia, stitches burning like fire under my skin, when the phone vibrated on the tray beside me. I already knew it wouldn't be good, but I still reached for it, clumsy fingers fumbling over the screen. Hey, Jake's voice crackled through the speaker, carefree and casual. I'm boarding now. Don't freak out, okay? That was the moment. The moment I realized he wasn't just not coming. He had chosen not to come. Chosen flashing lights, overpriced drinks, and girls in glitter bras over his wife and our daughter. Coachella over me. And just like that, something shifted inside me. A click? A break. Maybe both. One thing was clear. He would never hear the word forgiveness from my lips again. Let me back up. My name is Laura Miller. I'm 32, a senior marketing strategist for a Fortune 500 company. On paper, I have it all. Successful career, cute townhouse in Pasadena, a 5-year-old daughter with wild curls and the brightest smile. I worked hard for everything we have. I had to. I came from nothing. Shared rooms, hand-me-down clothes, food stamps. I told myself I'd never let my family feel the way I did growing up. Jake. Jake was supposed to be different. We met 6 years ago at a rooftop party during Coachella weekend. He was magnetic. A struggling musician with a crooked smile and a laugh that made you want to join in even if you didn't hear the joke. I fell hard and fast. He told me I made him feel seen, that he'd never met someone so put together. Maybe that should have been a red flag. We got married after a year. Emma came 2 years later. And somewhere in between, the shine wore off. Jake drifted from one project to another, never quite landing. I paid the bills, scheduled Emma's doctor visits, cleaned up after his creative chaos. He stayed, lost in dreams that paid nothing. Still, when we planned to go to Coachella this year, our thing, our tradition, I let myself feel excited. Even after my emergency appendectomy the day before our flight, I believed he'd stay behind to take care of me and Emma. I was wrong. I mean, babe, you did say the tickets were non-refundable, he said, sounding annoyed, like I was the one being unreasonable. That's $4,000 down the drain if I don't go. $4,000. Our daughter Emma has asthma. She needed a refill on her inhaler, and I was flat on my back in a hospital bed. I asked him to pick her up from urgent care. He laughed, actually laughed, and said, "You're the queen of logistics. I'm sure you'll figure it out. I'm already in the Uber." That's when I knew in the marrow of my bones that this man, the man I married, the man I shared a child with, would never be the partner I needed, would never be a father Emma deserved. And that night, as the morphine dulled my pain, I made a decision. He could have his music festivals, his freedom, his delusions. But I was taking everything else. They say you marry your opposite. I guess that's true for me and Jake. Where I was order and planning, he was chaos and charm. Where I calculated risk, he chased it like a high. And for a long time, I thought that was balance. I thought that was love. I grew up in a trailer park in Arizona. My mom worked double shifts at a diner, and my dad, well, he disappeared when I was 9. We had weeks where dinner was ramen and tap water, and I wore shoes 2 sizes too small until the soles gave out. I remember standing in line for free school lunch, embarrassed but trying to look tough. I swore to myself, one day, I'll have control. I wouldn't just survive, I'd build something no one could take from me. And I did. I worked my way through college with scholarships and 2 jobs. I climbed the corporate ladder in marketing faster than most people expected. Promotions, awards, recognition. I was addicted to achievement, to stability, to security. Then I met Jake. It was Coachella 6 years ago. I was there with coworkers, networking under the guise of partying. Jake was performing with his indie band on a tiny side stage. I barely remember the music, but I remember him. The wild energy, the way he made people laugh. How he looked straight at me mid-set like I was the only person in the crowd. He came up to me after, covered in sweat and glowing from adrenaline. "You have serious main character energy." he said with that grin that made everything feel like a movie. One drink turned into 6. One night turned into a weekend. A year later, we were married. Back then, I thought I was saving him. He had potential. He just needed structure. Someone to believe in him. And I had so much belief to give. He talked about solo projects, teaching music, maybe even launching a podcast. I supported it all. Paid the bills, helped him build a home studio, even got him contacts in the industry. But nothing stuck. He'd start something, get distracted, then move on to the next brilliant idea. And I kept excusing it. Because he was a great dad in the early days. Warm, spontaneous, the kind of guy who turned breakfast into a dance party. Emma adored him. So I kept picking up the slack. Kept telling myself he just needed more time. But time ran out. This year, we were supposed to go to Coachella together again. Our first time since having Emma. We planned it for months. I arranged time off work, booked childcare, bought outfits, even had custom wristbands made with our wedding date engraved. I thought it might rekindle something. Maybe remind us why we fell in love. Then my body betrayed me. 2 days before the trip, I felt the stabbing pain in my abdomen. At first, I thought it was stress. I tried to power through, but by that evening, I was curled on the bathroom floor, sweating and shaking. I barely remember the ambulance ride. All I know is I woke up post-surgery, groggy and alone. Jake showed up later that night. Flowers in hand, smelling faintly of weed and whiskey. "Damn, babe," he said. "You really know how to kill a vibe." He said it like a joke. I tried to smile. I wanted to believe he was scared, that he cared. He kissed my forehead, told me he was staying home from the festival, no questions asked. I believed him. I always did. The next morning, he was distant, on his phone, pacing. I asked him to call his mom and let her know what happened. He said he would. That night, I heard the truth. He stood at the end of my bed, not meeting my eyes. "You did say the tickets were non-refundable?" He started. $4,000, Laura. That's not pocket change. You'll be resting for a few days anyway, and I'll be back before you know it. My mouth went dry. What about Emma? I can't pick her up from urgent care. She needs her inhaler. I'm on IVs. He shrugged. "You're the queen of figuring things out," he said. "I'm already at the airport. You'll manage." He hung up before I could respond. I lay there, silent. My hands trembled. Not from the pain, not from the medication. From rage. From the kind of hurt that turns into clarity. My baby girl needed her father. I needed my partner. And we got this? I started calling everyone I could think of. Neighbors, babysitters, even coworkers. No one could get there fast enough. Everyone was busy or scared or just said no. Too last minute. I ended up paying a surge fee through an emergency nanny app just to get Emma picked up and brought home with her inhalers. Meanwhile, Jake was posting Instagram stories from his gate. "Coachella, here I come," he wrote, tagging some girl from his old band, their faces close, laughing. That night, I watched from my hospital bed, watching him smile in his stories while I lay with tubes in my arm and pain in my chest. Emma's photo was on my nightstand, her sweet face wrapped in a blanket from urgent care. And I finally saw the truth. Jake wasn't just selfish. He was a coward, a leech. And the man I married was long gone, if he ever existed at all. But me? I wasn't weak. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. That was the night I stopped being the woman who kept holding it all together and started becoming the woman who was ready to tear it all down. The morning after Jake left, I woke up in pain. Not just the dull ache in my side from the stitches, but the raw, blistering kind that sits behind your ribs and doesn't let go. The pain of betrayal. Emma was home with the emergency nanny I managed to book at triple the normal rate. The woman, bless her, had driven 30 minutes at midnight, picked up Emma and her asthma meds, and tucked her into our bed with the cartoon nightlight on. I sent her an extra $100 as a tip and a thank you emoji. It felt pathetic. I should have been there. Instead, I was in a hospital bed, trying to figure out how my life had tilted so wildly out of balance. I checked my phone. 2 text messages. One from Jake, one from my assistant at work. Guess which one made my blood boil? Don't be mad. I didn't plan this. It's just 4 days. You'll be okay. Coachella alone LOL. I clicked his Instagram profile. The second story made me drop the phone. There he was, grinning at the camera, surrounded by neon lights, holding a drink in one hand and wrapping the other around her. Lila. She used to play keyboard in his band. Petite, purple hair, always barefoot at house parties. I remembered her giggling in our kitchen once, calling Jake her creative soulmate. My thumb trembled as I hit pause on the video. I stared at their faces, at his smile, at the freedom in his eyes. It was like we'd never existed. I looked to my right, a photo of Emma, sleeping, taped to my IV stand. In it, she wore her tiny oxygen mask. I'd asked the nurse to print it from my phone to remind me what mattered. And suddenly, all I could think was, he will never change. Not for me, not for her, not for anyone. I called him just once. Voicemail. I sent him a message. Emma asked for you. She's scared. She's sick. I needed you. But you chose this. Remember that. He replied an hour later. You always make things harder than they need to be. I told you it's just 4 days. I'll make it up to you and Emma when I'm back. Make it up? Make it up with what? Another broken promise? Another bouquet of gaslighting? I closed the message without replying. Then something strange happened. I opened my iPad. I had synced it to Jake's iCloud months ago when Emma kept using it to watch cartoons. I'd forgotten about that. As I scrolled through apps, I noticed a notification. Messages synced from Jake's device. I shouldn't have looked. But I did. And I wish I could say I was surprised by what I found. If Laura's still in recovery, screw it. I'm going anyway. She's tough. She'll bounce back. Besides, she makes enough for both of us. I need this. Lila's coming too. Could be fun. I felt cold. Not angry. Not yet. Just hollow. Like someone had scooped out the core of who I was and left the shell blinking at a glowing screen. He didn't go because he needed a break. He didn't go because of the ticket money. He went because, in his mind, I didn't matter anymore. Not really. I was just the wallet. The background. The woman who made sure life worked while he played at being forever 23. I put the iPad down and curled into myself. For the first time in years, I let myself cry without trying to hide it. Quiet, bitter tears that soaked my pillow and left a dull pressure behind my eyes. The nurse came in mid-sob. She didn't say anything, just refilled my IV and gently touched my arm. She didn't need to speak. Her silence felt like kindness. When she left, I stared at the ceiling for a long time, until the pain subsided enough for me to sit up. I opened my laptop, logged into our bank account. It was all still under my name. Of course it was. Jake always said finances confused him, that he'd rather stay creative and let me handle the boring stuff. I had access to everything. His credit cards, the car title, the mortgage, the utility bills, even his Spotify subscription. Suddenly, I wasn't just sad anymore. I was furious. He thought I'd just wait. Heal. Forgive. Like always. But I was done playing the responsible one in his chaos. Done letting him smile for Instagram while I cleaned up behind him. I picked up my phone again. Took a screenshot of his chat with his friend. The one where he called me tough and said I'd bounce back. Another one of the Instagram story with Lila draped over him. I backed them up to a drive. And then I changed the password on his bank login, froze the credit card, sent a message to my lawyer friend, Nina. Hey, hypothetically, what's the process for separating finances and filing for custody when your husband abandons you and your child for a music festival? She replied in 5 minutes. Hypothetically? I'll be at the hospital by 3 p.m. Bring coffee. I smiled for the first time all day. Jake had no idea what was waiting for him when he got back. He would come home thinking this was just another bump, another mistake to charm his way out of, another apology to toss my way between kisses and lies. But this time, I wasn't waiting with open arms. I was waiting with paperwork, and a storm he wouldn't see coming. By the time Nina walked into my hospital room with her oversized tote bag and that "let's ruin someone's day" glint in her eyes, I was already halfway through compiling the digital folder I would name Jake's Greatest Hits. Screenshots, messages, bank statements, all the proof I'd need. She didn't say a word at first, just handed me a coffee, pulled her chair beside the bed, and opened her laptop. "Tell me everything," she said. "Don't spare details." So I did. I told her about the Instagram stories, about Lila, about the iPad messages where Jake treated our marriage like a burden and me like a walking ATM. I showed her the screenshots, watched her expression sharpen with each one. When I got to the part about Emma asking why Daddy hadn't come, I saw her jaw clench. "I want to file," I said. "Today?" she asked. I nodded. "Today, from this hospital bed with this damn IV in my arm." "Then let's start." We began with the basics: full legal separation, sole custody of Emma, frozen credit lines, and, Nina's favorite part, a cease and desist on any use of our shared finances until the court reviewed our accounts. I logged into our joint banking app and toggled off Jake's access to every card with his name on it. The credit card he used to buy concert gear? Disabled. The gas card he swore he needed for band errands? Gone. His Apple Pay? Disconnected. 1 tap. 2 taps. His financial oxygen? Gone. It felt righteous. I hadn't even realized how deep he'd sunk his roots into my life until I started cutting them loose. Our home? Mine. I had bought it before the wedding with my bonus from landing the Delta campaign. The deed was in my name alone. The car? Also mine. I'd made the down payment the year Emma was born. Every major asset we had, every safety net, had been woven with threads of my labor. Jake had contributed vibes. It wasn't just galling. It was insulting. For years I had carried us. Carried him. And he had the audacity to think I was too soft to fight back? That night, after Nina left and the paperwork was submitted, I stared at the ceiling and thought back to all the times I'd let things slide. The missed birthdays, the unpaid parking tickets, the half-finished jobs, the passive-aggressive comments. "You're so type A, babe. Let it go." "You're always so stressed. Relax, I got it." He never had it. I always did. And I realized I'd been preparing for this for longer than I admitted to myself. A year ago, I had started a folder in my email called Contingency. It had begun as a backup plan. I told myself it was just in case of emergency, just a safety net. But deep down, I knew. I knew Jake would never change. I had just hoped I was wrong. Inside that folder were every receipt I ever covered, from groceries to studio equipment to vacation rentals. Copies of Emma's medical bills I paid while he researched sound equipment. Notes from therapy sessions where I cried about how alone I felt. Even voice memos, short ones, recorded when he thought I wasn't listening. There was one in particular I had forgotten about. I found it now, buried deep in the archive. Audio file, March 17th, 2023. Jake's voice. I mean, Laura's great, obviously. She keeps everything running, but I can't live like this forever, you know? She's more like a CFO than a wife. A CFO. I played that recording 3 times. Not because I was shocked, but because it was the final puzzle piece. He hadn't just chosen Coachella over me and Emma. He'd always chosen himself. I was never his equal. I was a convenience. I sent the audio file to Nina with a single line. "Use this if he fights dirty." She replied instantly. "Oh, honey, I hope he fights dirty." The next morning, I filed for divorce electronically. No fanfare. Just a clean digital signature. The system sent Jake an automated notification. I know this because 5 minutes later, my phone exploded with messages. Laura, what the hell? Is this a joke? Why are my cards frozen? You blocked me out of the mortgage app? Are you serious right now? Can we talk before you do something we both regret? And finally, I'll be home Monday. Please don't do anything crazy. But I already had. And it wasn't crazy. It was calculated. Strategic, like I always was. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened Emma's baby monitor app. She was home, still sleeping, her curls tangled on the pillow. The emergency nanny had sent me a video. Emma reading a book aloud in a whisper. That was the only thing that mattered. By the time Jake landed back in town, he still hadn't heard from me. His texts had shifted from indignation to desperation. I watched them pop up one by one, each more frantic than the last. Why are the locks changed? Are you serious with this? I can't even get my guitar out. Are you punishing me? You're ruining everything. I'm calling my lawyer. I sent one text in return. I already called mine. Check your email. Welcome to real life, Jake. Then I blocked his number. Nina had advised I record any future interactions just in case. I didn't think I'd need to. Jake thrived on attention. I'd just taken it away. What he didn't know yet was that I had already reached out to HR to have his name removed from the company healthcare plan, that the utilities were being transferred to solo billing, that the HOA had been informed that Jake no longer resided at our address. It was like untangling myself from vines that had grown around me while I wasn't looking. Freeing, terrifying, necessary. And the moment it was done, truly done, I took a deep breath and let myself feel everything at once. Anger, grief, vindication. Mostly, relief. The final step was simple. I went into our Wi-Fi settings, renamed the network. A small thing, but symbolic. New network name. Go to Hell Jake 2024. Password. Emma deserves better because she did. So did I. And Jake? He could keep Coachella. I was reclaiming everything else. Jake came back 4 days later. 4 days too late. He arrived mid-morning, still in his festival clothes, dusty boots, faded tank top, sunglasses too big for his face. He looked like someone pretending not to be hungover. He didn't knock. He tried his key. It didn't work. I watched from the upstairs window as he twisted the knob, frowned, then tried again. I imagined the slow realization settling in, that something had shifted in a way he couldn't undo with charm or excuses. He rang the bell, pounded once, then called. My phone lit up with Jake. Do not answer. I let it ring, then again, then again. Finally, I picked up on the fourth call and held it to my ear in silence. Laura, he said, already raising his voice. What the hell is going on? Why can't I get in the house? My cards aren't working. I can't even get gas. You need to leave, I said calmly. This is my house. I exhaled, slowly. No, Jake, it's my house. I bought it, paid every mortgage installment. You've never put in a dime. And legally, you have no claim to it. He went quiet for a moment. Then, you've lost your mind. No, I replied. I've finally found clarity. And Emma? He asked, suddenly changing tone. You're seriously keeping her from me? I walked to the doorway, still on the phone, and looked out at him through the small glass panel. If you want to see Emma again, I said, you'll do it through court-approved visitation. I've already filed. Your lawyer can talk to mine. His jaw clenched. He looked up, straight at the door, like he could feel my eyes watching him. You're really doing this. I already did. He stood there for another moment, probably hoping I'd crack. I didn't. Eventually, he left. Not with anger, with confusion, with disbelief. But I didn't feel guilty. Not when the court date came and the judge reviewed the financials. Every line showing me as the sole provider. Not when we played the voice memo of Jake calling me a CFO. Not when Nina presented the screenshots of him choosing a festival over his family. Not even when Jake tried to claim I was being emotional and vindictive. And the judge raised an eyebrow and asked, "Is she being vindictive or just finally done?" The court granted me full legal and physical custody of Emma. Jake was awarded supervised visitation once a week, pending a psychological evaluation. He was required to pay $500 a month in child support, barely enough to cover groceries. But I didn't care. It wasn't about money anymore. It was about boundaries, about consequences. Jake had never faced either in his life, and the world didn't make it easier on him. People talk, friends unfollow, screenshots circulate. It started with Lila posting a cryptic story. "Some men care more about attention than responsibility. I'm out." Then others chimed in, former bandmates, acquaintances, even his old roommate. One called him a freeloader. Another said, "He talks about being a dad more than he acts like one." The comments under Jake's posts turned brutal fast. He went from being a free spirit to a symbol of wasted potential and selfishness. He tried deleting comments, then his profile, then making a new one. But the internet never forgets. And while he spiraled, I built. Emma and I started new routines. Tuesday walks to the park. Saturday pancakes. Quiet bedtime stories. No chaos, no broken promises. Just peace. One evening, as I tucked her in, she looked up at me and asked softly, "Mommy, why didn't Daddy come to the doctor with me?" I paused and said the only truth she needed at 5 years old. "Because he made a bad choice, sweetheart. But I promise I will always be here." She nodded. "Okay, I like us this way." And my heart, so bruised and tired, finally began to heal. I used to think love was enough, that if you gave someone your heart, your time, your loyalty, they'd see it, respect it, return it. But some people mistake kindness for weakness. Some take and take until there's nothing left of you but resentment and regret. The hardest lesson I've ever learned is this: love without respect is just endurance. And I'm done enduring. If you're in a relationship where your needs are invisible, your pain is ignored, and your strength is exploited, please hear me. You deserve more. You deserve peace. You deserve to be seen. Even if you have to burn the bridge you built with your bare hands, walk away. Because the version of yourself waiting on the other side, she's stronger than you ever imagined. Have you faced something similar? Share your story in the comments. Your voice matters. And subscribe for more stories like mine. Emma's future? Let's just say, law school has a spot waiting.